Welcome everyone to NFTs in the Arena with your host Mike and John. So, as you would have seen already off the bat, or at least I've tried to change things up when it comes to setting up the podcast, and it's actually part of the reason as to why we never had a podcast last week is because Jono and I have been recording now. This is our 26th episode already, in the space of just under a year, I would say. But I think those of you that are listening and those of you that have actually tried podcasting will actually probably relate to what Jono and I are going to talk about now with regards to how hard and how difficult it is to set up a podcast. Not even the content in which we prepare to convey to you each week, but even the setup when it comes to the cameras, the microphones, and everything else. So I wanted Jono to also have a bit of his take in that because it's actually been so frustrating, but I think we've got this right now. So when this goes out, we know it's been recorded well. So Jono, what's going on, man? How are you doing?
What's up,
And
Mikey?
I said that quite calmly, to be fair, considering
Yeah.
how annoyed we were 10 minutes
It's a
ago.
bold up play, bro.
Oh my gosh.
Yo, what a rough one, man.
Yeah, no, definitely. So I mean, like trying to up our game. We are definitely, obviously, trying to bring better content as well as just make the whole experience better for our audience. So, I mean, this past week there hasn't been much going on in the crypto and NFT world, but I think one of the things that I wanted to cover was, I think, the whole way in which we are viewing money now, right? Going into recession. And I think a lot of people that I've been speaking to, and like I think one of the reasons why I wanted to have this conversations is I had a conversation with a gentleman 2 days ago, and he was speaking about how one of his family members in the last recession had lost their house due to crypto, meaning they effectively sold all their properties, put it into crypto, and then the market crashed. And I think we're going to start to see the things like that now coming upon us, if not already. But I think with you now obviously investing in the different cryptocurrencies that you are investing in, like Zen and Pulse Chain and the likes, do you think, or the community that you form part of, I actually think it would be quite cool for you to actually just tell us about the community that you form part of. So if you guys are on Twitter, I think you should follow John. I think your profile's J Edgar or Zen Influencer.
Yes, Zenfluencer. Yeah.
Influencer, yeah. But I think it's quite a cool community because when I follow like the tweets and I follow everyone that's commenting there, it seems like some form of a community and it has been sustained for quite a long time. Maybe just give us a bit of how that experience has been, especially leading up into the precarious and quite complex economic circumstances we're about to find ourselves in.
Yeah, look, I think with the community, the Zenians are just on another level, bro, especially just given the amount of time in market. And I do believe that's because of the leader, Jack. He really has an element to himself that takes us past what needs to happen as people, especially in the crypto space, because we rely so much on community, just especially during bear runs, because who knows what's to be anticipated when these markets crash. And sometimes you require this leaning on from your peers and the community just to get you through it. And what I believe is so substantial with the Zen crypto space is the ability to mint your own coin. And I think that's very paramount going into let's hypothetically say this is going to be a recession and people are now in a position to mint their own currency. And I do believe the bigger this becomes, the easier it becomes for the community to actually find some form of value as a currency. And this is what takes me to my next point, where I feel like I'm so involved indirectly that I want to become more directly involved by starting an initiative that's more for the Pan-African, South African space in the Zen community. So start running workshops, just general face-to-face meetings. I know they had one in New York recently, and now I see they're pushing for a UK one, much like how Startup Grind was incepted and scaled, was purely based on the community. And the network that brings the individuals in that space is very, very important, because not only will the crypto benefit you in the long term, so will the network that you build internally with the community. And this is what I'm very excited about, dude. It's exciting times. And essentially, if we were to look at Hex as a case study, this is what I believe made Hex as powerful as it is because the community was steadfast during ups and downs. And the leader just took them on the ride with them, and he's constantly doing that. Richard Hart has got a lot of faith from his community, and I believe that's exactly what's extending into Jack.
No, I think that's cool, and you've actually now just prompted me to actually maybe segue into a conversation which I think was so spoken about and such a hot topic, especially last year with the whole NFT craze, right? When people were just making projects and drawing a piece of picture, taking 10 photos of it and put it online and making millions of dollars, right? And I think the reason why I bring that up is the great Gary Vee. He speaks a lot about community and the importance of creating community. And you would have seen last year in all these discords, and when people were actually creating these discord communities, they were emphasizing the importance of community. And I know previously we actually spoke about individuals like Logan Paul, where he essentially has garnered a community over the years, initially through YouTube and then the various other avenues in which he has garnered attention and fame. And with the crypto projects like Crypto Zoo, which failed miserably, and one in which he was seen to be taking his followers for a ride, is based on community. And there's this massive trust element when it comes to communities. And I remember being part of these Discord groups, how there was this whole drive to keep the community in check, to make sure that no outside people coming to disturb the community with the wrong intentions. And one of the things that I think is pretty cool is this figurine I have here, which is from Gary Vee's initiative that he had done last year with this the golden fox. And the whole point of this, it's really cool. But what I loved about it was the community that he tried to create with V friends. And I can't remember the company in which he had actually collaborated with. It was a sneaker brand, I think it was. And they only had given 500 of those things out. And I actually went and waited in the line, and I got to meet him. Why I bring that up is because all those people in the line form part of his community, a loyal bunch of people that trust him. And the craziest thing was for me to actually see it in plain sight, the difference between trusted community and people that are opportunists. And why I say that is when my girlfriend and I were waiting in the line around the block was going around the corner, and there was actually a strong chance of me actually not meeting him because there were so many people there. And he was, as he always is, applying his time and answering questions and actually showing some form of genuine interest. It's probably very difficult because you have so many people coming and people asking questions that are probably irrelevant, and he just wants to make sure that everything's stuck to time so everyone gets allocated their fair share of his time. But going back to my point of seeing people that are really trustworthy and people that are opportunists, is that when we wait in a line, everyone knows that if 500 of these things, you got people walking out with bags of these. The boxes were relatively quite big, and people walking out with 7 or 8 of these fucking boxes. And it was actually such a Hollywood, it was such a Hollywood moment. It was everyone waiting in a line to get the piece of this pie, where you got this guy. He comes out with his daughter. She's got about 4 bags. He's got about 4 bags of these big boxes. Isn't that big? Then he opens up his car. He has a Porsche, and in front of everyone. So you can see this guy's got money. He's spending money on a thing, and you think, so why is he doing this? And he's trying to fit this thing in this Porsche, which was actually so funny. It was the kind of a metaphor or a different way of looking at greed, of how you have this amazing car, but you can't even fit all these things you've bought now.
Oh my gosh, dude.
And then you go online, and there must have been this guy, because he was one of the first people to come outside on eBay. I think the retail value at that time was, I think, $450, or might have been $350 or between that. This guy was selling for $7,500 as he walked out of the shop. And it shows me why would I want to be part of the community when there's individuals like that are opportunists? And that just encapsulated the whole of last year for me when it came to NFTs, and how people, now when you talk to people about NFTs that aren't involved even in crypto NFTs, their perception is completely skewed. and they don't see the
Mm.
true value of the smart contract and the utility that in which you can actually ascertain from an NFT collection.
Mm.
And before I pass on to you, a prime example
No, no,
would
no.
be how SportsFinder, how we are trying to obviously educate our audience and educate the people as to how you can actually leverage not NFTs but the blockchain technology, like we are built on the Ethereum blockchain, and to
Mm.
utilize smart contracts for different use. So next week, Saturday, the 18th of February, we're hosting a beach soccer tournament. And the intention of that is to build community, right? And the way in which we
Yes,
actually
yes, yes.
promote NFTs and promote our brand is the
Mm.
entrance into this tournament. So there'll be a team of minimum 5 people, maximum 7 people in a format of knockout rounds, 2 groups, and the winner goes to the final and wins. Each team
Yes.
is going, and each individual on that team is going to get an NFT, which is going to be their ticket into the tournament. And now, what that
Amazing.
provides them is for future tournaments. They already have entrance into the draw for whatever future tournaments we host, and we'll provide utility along with that. But I think this is the stance that we've tried to take on now in order to build up trust and also to help people understand the true use of the NFT can go far beyond the initial artwork, which was at the forefront of every NFT collection last year.
Mm. Mm. Dude, that's fucking epic, bro. I'm super excited. Yeah, look, I think there's great opportunity with smart contracts and just the longevity of that with the community, and this is exactly why this is going to be very paramount for Sports Finder going forward, especially as the community starts to develop. It's exciting times, and this is also what brings me on to something that's, I believe, going back to Zen with their NFT projects, which is launched on Ethereum. It's now recently launched on Polygon and BSC. And I feel that the way that is structured is very very tokenomic. So it's focused on trying to burn the Zen token going forward, and then people can actually trade it while they're in their staking and in minting process, which is very very innovative. And I thought I'd mention that because some people may have not have heard about it. And if there are NFT maxis, or should I say, people that are curious about that space, I do think that NFTs is something to look at. But yeah, I think due diligence is very key. But going back to VeeFriends, the way that Gary V's bringing this to fruition is unreal, dude. I love the way he focuses on the youth, and despite his VaynerMedia still doing the big things in the marketing space, the way he's been able to adapt to such an early and newly incepted nuance in crypto and in the NFT space. So, like, I do believe that he's a big influencer with this regard, and I do think that people need to focus and look to him for some advice, and just generally, like with Logan Paul, bad example of how someone with a lot of influence can negatively impact the space just by jumping into it too soon and trying to get all his eggs in one box just to siphon it, let's put it, or lack of a better word. And this is very interesting in how it's just been panned out in the last couple of years. As of late, how many brands and individuals are jumping into it, but then you look to the guys that have been there right from the beginning. And I'm not saying Gary Vee has, but I do think he's been, or should I say, give credit where it's due. He spent a lot of time researching and funding the space. And I think that we need to look more to him for advice and wisdom.
Yeah, I think that's actually a very good point in the sense that I think people are looking to the wrong individuals for education around this space. So going
Mm.
back to your point with Gary Vee and looking at the difference in which he goes about the way in which he presents himself and the ideas in which he leads from the front with. I mean, like what you're talking about now, going back again to our good friend Logan Paul, the way in which he had exploited his community or his following
Mm.
by leveraging his influence, right? Which is obviously something that's been seen throughout the ages. It's not uncommon. But like
Mm.
what that kind of reminds me of is this whole pump and dump approach
Yes,
to
yes,
crypto
yes,
and to NFT projects. And
yes.
just for those of you that don't understand what a pump and dump is, it's essentially when you get like, how can I say it, for lack of a better word, fraudsters, people that have influence
Mm,
and people that are imposters, essentially providing like misleading information to create a buying frenzy in whatever it may be, whether it's in crypto, whether it's in NFTs, and they effectively pump up that stock price. And what that effectively does is now create and garners community, and like, hey, everyone's like, look at this cool project everyone's working on, let's pump money into it, there's a cool initiative
mm,
behind it, there's a lot more that's going to come out of this NFT collection. And then boom, these guys that came out with this misleading information dump their shares, they sell their initial shares, they pull out their money, and then and they have majority of the shares, or the
mm,
majority of the cryptocurrency, or percentage of the NFT collection, and then everyone gets left high and dry. And I think we saw this far too many times last year. And I think a lot of these cases, like with Sam Bankman-Fried with FTX, are maybe deterring some people. But you still hear on a weekly basis these kind of scams that are either ones that which are only coming to fruition now, or ones in which people are catching on from the get-go. And I mean, you got
yeah.
that guy from Shark Tank, Mr. Wonderful, who is very much in the weeds with this whole FTX and Sam Bankman-Fried saga, where he was supposedly provided $15 million from Sam Bankman-Fried to be not only an ambassador of FTX, but he essentially took 15 million of that dollars. I think he invested 10 million of that into FTX and took 5 million and maybe invested it somewhere else.
Mm,
And it's come out now where people are questioning his intentions and his way in which he does due diligence when it comes to individuals. And I think this all forms part of how community can be built so quickly, but can also fall and have the carpet swept from right under your feet without you even knowing. And
mm,
the last thing I would say to that, and something that I'm very proud of, is obviously with Startup Grind, as you mentioned. And for those of you that don't know, is that every chapter in the world will have a Startup Grind community. And Startup Grind is a global community of entrepreneurs and venture capitalists. And it was started in, I think, 2010 by Derek Andreessen. And he was basically just a bunch of friends that were in business and wanted to share their journeys and share their pain of becoming an entrepreneur and the various things in which one has to actually encounter and uncover by being a startup founder. And he built this
mm.
community. I think there's over 4 million people globally. And in Los Angeles, I'm the chapter director. And one of the things that we always lead with, and it's basically one of our core values, is make friends and not contacts. Because
Mm,
I
mm.
think that's incredibly important when you come to joining communities and forming part of the communities, because you're part of the Zen community. And it
Yeah,
seems like you have some form of trust and belief that I feel like I don't see in more tangible communities, as opposed to one
yeah,
that
yeah,
is
yeah, yeah.
digital, if I said that
100%,
correctly.
100%, 100%. And I actually want to go back when you said it's Derek Andreessen, right?
Derek Anderson.
Okay,
No,
because I
not
was about to
Anderson,
say,
yeah. It's not
is he
Anderson.
linked?
It's spelled the same but pronounced differently.
Okay, so he's not linked
Yeah.
to Mark Andreessen.
No, 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 no.
Because that would have been very interesting. I'd be like,
Yeah.
yes, yeah.
Yeah, no,
Big
yeah. But
tycoon and then his son.
shout out to Derek, who started up Grant. Those guys are legends, man.
No, rock and roll, bro.
Yeah.
So this is like with the community thing, I feel like even with more established spaces, I think there's a lot of misleading happening from the top down. And I think this is based on the clout and social proof and leverage and that kind of thing. Like if I was a very popular dude on Instagram or TikTok, for instance, like I can easily hone in onto community and start to direct them in ways that I feel is beneficial. And when you look to more virtuous leaders, and you're like, Naval Ravikant said that these guys are going to be in the Web3 space, and we've touched on Stephen from Social Chain and how he's moved all his focus into YouTube and the Web3 domain. And this is the same with Gary Vee, and this is with Jack Levine, Google employee number 21. It's just when you start to see these kind of individuals starting to hone in on the community from a digital aspect, from a crypto aspect. Yeah, like you mentioned, there's a lot of people in there who are opportunists that want to stop trade and make money. And that's fair. You're going to see that Forex styled business model in the crypto space. Why? Because you can easily leverage the naivety of the people that jump into it, especially the newcomers. This is why timing market is so important in timing the market, as Richard Hart would say. And I learned that the hard way. Like coming into it, I was like literally at the tip of the bull run. When was it? Last year, I think 2 years ago. 2 years ago, when I first jumped in, with the hype with Dogalon, with the hype with so many altcoins, bro. I just went in hard, bro.
It's actually insane when you think about the conversations we
Yeah.
used to have with people. Like even in my lab, like I have this
Mm,
guy, his name's Shane. I'll actually love to bring him on one day. He has so much energy, but he was like pushing all these
mm,
altcoins, and not to say that he was wrong in doing it, because if he was
mm.
right, I mean, a lot of people would have been wealthy, right? But
Yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah.
just so funny to see there's so many people like that, and I admired that because he was incredibly passionate, and he would back his comments up by actually investing his own money into these cryptocurrencies, right?
Wow.
Albeit not
Wow.
a lot of money, but he
Mm,
like he truly believed. Like he always would say to me, "You give me $1 million, I'll get you $30 million." And like I admire guys like that, and I like to have
mm,
people
mm, mm,
like that around me, because it just also makes me remind myself that I also need to make sure that I'm doing my due diligence with everything that I'm getting involved in. And like
100%.
an example
100%.
would be there's this investment opportunity in Rhode Island
Mm.
where there's obviously in the United States the major soccer league, the MLS, Major League Soccer,
Oh, yeah, yeah,
where
yeah.
the professional football players play, right?
Mm,
And for
mm,
many years, and that sport has grown significantly over the last 10, 15 years in the United States, not only because it's the most popular sport in the world, because there's a growing population here. It's one of
mm,
the younger populations in the world compared to Asian populations like Spain and Italy, where there's this
mm,
massive disparity in age gap, where teams in Europe are going to start looking to the United States for young and raw talent from grassroots levels, because there's enough
mm.
people here and there's enough infrastructure and capital investment going into sports, which is obviously
Yes,
now all
yes.
leading up until the 2026 World Cup that's going to be hosted here in the United States. So
What?
we remember in 2010 in South Africa
Yeah.
what good that did for public
Sick.
infrastructure, even the
Mm.
social element of how it brought communities together. I'd never experienced such a happy time in South Africa until the World Cup.
Must
And
agree.
my point is, like, after that, tourism obviously kind of either boomed, and a lot of people would question that after World Cups, a lot of the stadiums are underutilized and they're not maintained well enough and they
Mm,
dilapidate. My point here is that I had this opportunity, or this investment opportunity, where this guy is raising money to invest and build one of these USL teams, which is another league outside of the MLS, but it's a professional league that has three tiers,
mm.
and there's a lot of investment
Okay.
when it comes to TV rights, sponsorships, and the likes. And my point is that this guy has had to build a community to raise $50 million. His name is Brett Johnson, and he
Mm.
is actually one of the directors and shareholders of Ipswich, which is a League One side in the UK. So
Oh,
he
wow.
has a lot of experience and he has a lot of investing. And I've just seen the way in which he has garnered community and the following in ordering to effectively ask people to invest in his project and his vision.
Mm,
Because the
mm,
minimum
mm.
buy-in is quite a lot of money. But I,
Okay.
I, I quite enjoyed that taken away. It's like a very old school way in which he's building his community, like having
Mm,
people
mm,
come over, watch the games there, and it's nothing is. We're not on any WhatsApp groups, we're not on any Discord channels, and it's
mm,
actually
mm.
quite nice because you get to meet your community in person, and there's no better way to actually ascertain how an individual is by meeting them in person.
Yes. 100%, bro. And this is, I guess, a bit of should I say, disadvantage for a lot of the virtual community that's in crypto, because you don't get to meet these people directly, and which gives a lot of opportunity for thought leaders or just entrepreneurs in general to make that possible for the community. It's like with anything, it's about what's built on top of Ethereum that makes it truly relevant. And that's the same with good leaders. what's built around them that actually can edify them and empower them even more so that they can reach out and bring more value. And yes, there's only so much you can do with doing Twitter spaces, with doing YouTube lives and YouTube videos and that. But then it comes down to the community as to how they showcase and bring awareness to even new people. And this is why I mentioned earlier on what I'm going to do with Zen, because I feel like there's a lot of people in Africa that can benefit off this kind of concept. And I know that people in the community are donating, should I say, mints to people. So they'll onboard someone by taking on the gas fee cost or whatever.
You
It's
still need
just
to
to make
remind me
it.
when my mint is coming, eh? It must be just under, just a bit above 400 days.
Yeah.
I
You
just
must
remembered
actually,
now. I must check up on
dude.
it again, though.
Yeah. So if you go into your MetaMask, you can go and add something called Zen Turbo, which will take and analyze that wallet address and tell you exactly when it's due. Or you can just keep going into Zen.network and just manually check it up. But you see, it's for you doing 1 month, it's perfect. It's easy to manage. But there's people that are doing like several, well, if not tens and hundreds of them, bro. So to manage that, I know Chris, he even had a business model that he wanted to open up 10 wallets on a daily. But
Yeah.
fortunately, Zen introduced Zen NFTs, which allowed you to actually create a VMUs, which is essentially a wallet address within the NFT itself. So you could push as much gas as you wanted to and create those VMUs up until 100, which is very beneficial. Like, fuck, it's actually great. I'm looking to doing that as well, purely because I'm in a catch-22 with Zen. Like, I'm buying it and I'm minting it. But Jack is obviously advocating minting only just so that people don't lose money. Because even when, but then I was like, oh, let me just fucking dollar cost average through this whole process. Because the couple buys I've done on Zen, they're all down, but I'm not here for the short term. I'm not here to stop trade Zen. I'm here to accumulate as much as I can. And I don't want to go out there and create a lot of wallets or create buys NFT just because I don't really want to be trading NFTs in the future. That's just not my business strategy when it comes to
Yeah.
crypto. I just want to, keep it simple. And this is not me going against the initiative or the concept. I think it's great. Like I mentioned, I might even jump into it, but I need a little bit more information and diligence around that space. And this is why I take to Chris for this information. But he's been very huddled with AI. Like, he's put all his fucking attention into understanding and working with AI just so that he can leverage it going forward, because he, as a teacher in an Asian state, believes he's becoming obsolete if he doesn't work with this AI system. Because in the future, what's the need for a person like that?
It's interesting that you say that, because that's exactly what I wanted to talk about next is AI and artificial intelligence, and obviously ChatGPT, and now obviously Google's coming out, or Google company Alphabet's coming out with their own version of that, which is called Bard, BARD. So we've we've spoken about this before, and it's effectively using the same API, which is interesting. But I found myself of probably in the last month using ChatGPT more than I use Google, like significantly more. I would say it's probably in
Yeah,
the 80-20 space now. And
nice, dude.
it's not because I have anything against Google. I just feel like what I need to get on ChatGPT is there in the instance, as opposed to Google. When you type in the same thing that you could type in ChatGPT, 9 out of 10 times you're not going to find what you need initially, right? Whereas in ChatGPT, it will tell you if it can't find what you need, which I kind of like.
Yes.
And again, I
Yes.
mean, by no means are we saying this is the holy grail. This is the next thing, which it really is, to be honest. But I think there's a lot of people are putting it under scrutiny because some of the information in which it's actually leveraging to provide and spit out is maybe not as accurate as one would believe. And I think we had spoken about this before, but just for any new listeners, I remember seeing tweets going around, and Elon Musk was actually commenting on it, where an individual had typed into ChatGPT something about Joe Biden and the same thing around Donald Trump. And when it said the Joe Biden thing, it gave out this whole like list of amazing things, accolades, and like the amazing things that he's achieved in his presidency. And with Donald Trump, it basically says, no, I don't get involved in political matters in a way, which is incredibly concerning, right? Because the information in which it's pulling is from the internet. But now, is the guys behind ChatGPT already in bed with all these politicians or in bed with all of these corrupt individuals, and it hasn't even been it's not even in its mature state yet, which is something that I think a lot of people need to be mindful of. Because what you're going to find is, like, I think a lot of students in high school, especially in university now, are all doing their projects through ChatGPT, right? Marketing plans, SWOT analysis, projections, financial planning, everything can be done in ChatGPT. And people are just assuming that information which is being split out is correct. And a lot of times it is. But I've seen now it's also creating opportunity for other businesses to provide solutions to the education system, where they put in these technology or these stop gaps that will actually pick up if an individual has spat out and got the information from a source like ChatGPT. My point is that as much as these kind of new technologies and new innovations come under scrutiny, it'll always and ever eventually result in something good that will come out of it, where a solution like for the education system, because I mean, if you think back when we were in university and we were doing theses and dissertations, and the way in which they did plagiarism was through a software, and that software was only developed once they realized people were plagiarizing. So the same thing has happened with AI now. And I think it's so interesting to see how this is all going to pan out. And now effectively Microsoft owns a share of ChatGPT. Google's going to have Bard. Who has the greatest market share? They both have massive market share. Microsoft basically owns the PC market. Google owns the internet. So it's going to be this clash of titans, and it's going to be interesting to see where those cards fall.
Yeah, look, if I could decide, I hope it falls Google's way, bro, because I fucking hate Microsoft. I really do, bro.
I actually forgot. Yeah. So last week or the previous episode, we were talking about something like to do with the vaccines or whatever it was, and Jono just has a whole outburst about Bill Gates. It's like you know what it reminded me of. It's like your arch nemesis. Do you ever remember Dexter's Lab when you were growing up?
Oh yes, I love that, bro.
What is his name? His name Malfoy. What is his name?
Something like that, dude.
But they were at each other's throats the whole time. But that's actually so interesting, Dexter's Laboratory. I used to love that show.
I think I want to watch it again.
And it's so crazy, because there'll be very, very much hidden messages that now that as adults will pick up on. But it's so crazy to think that I almost did a full circle when it comes to that, because I now run a laboratory company, and it's obviously it's not in the back of my house like it was with his, but it's just so crazy. I used to live and breathe that show, dude. It's so funny.
What the fuck, bro? That's sick, man. I love that. I love that, dude. That's just but back to the I wonder if you'd find AI in Dexter's Lab. We gotta watch it and just go and check.
But he didn't have a robot. I think he had his computer that would talk to him, man. There was AI.
Oh, there we go. There we go.
But I mean, bro. AI has been spoken about. I mean, who is the person that spoke about this first and foremost? Alan Turing.
Sure.
Alan Turing, the father of computing and the mathematician. He wrote that white paper, and he effectively was saying the Turing test, right? Or the imitation game. There will be a time in the future in which we will not be able to determine or decipher between a computer and a human. And that is happening now, dude. With these whole AI models where they're actually making like these. Have you seen how crazy it is now? I was reading the other day, and sorry to interrupt you, but I think this is pretty cool for audience to talk about. You know, like how everyone's using ChatGPT and these AI tools to create content, right? Written content. But there's a bunch of guys now that are producing fake images of models of people through AI imaging. It's actually not real people, but they look real. And they're creating OnlyFans. yeah, they're creating OnlyFans accounts and they're fucking generating a shit ton of money through these fake individuals, dude. It's insane.
My
Look,
gosh.
I think
Mm.
I admire the creativity and the opportunity.
Yeah, yeah,
Guys
yeah,
are
yeah.
smart to jump
Yeah.
onto that. But
Yes.
my point is like we are stepping into uncharted territories now. We thought
Yes.
catfishing was a bad thing with dating, man. Now you're
Mm,
gonna
mm.
have a girl talking to you on FaceTime. You know, it's an AI model.
This
So
is what yeah.
the Tinder swindler is going to be out and about, bro. But he's going to have 10 models,
Yes.
10 AI models
Defos,
taking money
bro.
from people.
Defos. And this is what's gonna make trust even more prevalent. Like we we mentioned this before. We're in that age of trust, bro. And AI is just gonna throw that on its fucking head. And the reason why I say that is because it's gonna take away the notions that we've understood as what makes us truly human. Like if you're seeing fertility rates dropping, all this bullshit from that perspective, and then you start to see how people are starting to fall in love with these AI generated chatbots. Like you look into some organizations, you start to dig deep and you find out that people are actually they're into it, bro. And who's to say the future isn't going to be like that? Like, why would you want to be like? Let's hypothetically say that they create a sentient AI, like fuck that we saw in Ex Machina when she leaves the house, where you can't even differentiate whether it's a real human or not. Just it looks legit and it actually acts exactly that same way. We can argue that people will be for it in the future. Like
People are ready for it, though,
they'll,
dude.
yeah,
People are
they'll
ready.
date it.
That's not even the physical thing. It's people are
Yeah.
dating like Tamagotchi kind of style things, dude. I'm not even lying to you.
Yeah.
Let me Google this, dude.
Oh my
But carry
gosh.
on talking.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like I think that's gonna become a lot more prevalent as the days go on. And like we can say, is this ethical? We can argue this. It's very debatable. But yeah, look, whether I will be into it, I can't really. Nah, I'd much rather just be single for the rest of my life rather than date a computer, if that makes sense. But who's to say that the new generation or generations that follow won't, what might be a norm, right? There might be AI fucking robots at school. Who
Uh,
knows, bro?
So there's an AI girlfriend seducing China's lonely men.
She sounds like the perfect
Oh
girlfriend.
my gosh.
18
Yeah.
years old, cute features,
Yeah, yeah,
a
yeah.
sweet voice. She loves wearing school uniforms and is ready to talk 24/7. There's just one problem. She only exists online.
This stuff is happening, man. I'll put a link to this
Yeah,
video in the
yeah.
description. But yeah,
Oh
I
my
do
gosh.
I do think it's definitely happening, man. And what's going to
Mm,
be
mm.
interesting, these people eventually become colleagues. Oh,
Yeah, look,
you're gonna have a robot that's like a carrot in your office, dude. Imagine how funny that would be. Yeah,
that's actually hilarious.
yeah, I know. It's actually
Look,
super funny.
I want to be living in a lake house by that time, bro. I can't. I don't want to be involved with that shit.
Talking about like
Yeah.
cartoons that were supposedly foreseeing the future, I think an obvious one that we can easily refer back to is the Jetsons, right? In which they had
Mm.
robots as their domestic helpers, and the way in which they were transported was essentially the same rationale behind the Hyperloop technology, where you have this
Yeah.
vacuum tube where they take out the air to create reduced friction. So, I mean, today's podcast was one in which we just went out on a complete tangent. I think it was fantastic, Jono.
I love
We
it.
are, we are coming
Love
to the
it.
end. So before we
Mm.
end off, Jono, if you have any of quotes, just get that prepared. If not, I can pull one up here. I have one. But please like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We are doing all right considering the amount of time we've been in this game. And I actually have a guest on Friday. He's very much focused on the esports space. I'll be bringing him in to interview him, And yeah, I think this was a great start to the new format in which we're doing. And when I mean new format, the new technology and tools we've been leveraging to record to bring you better content and better quality. So in saying that, John, any final remarks?
Yeah, look, it's touching on our latter part of the podcast, and it's by Lex Friedman. It's not too long, but it's a little bit lengthier than usual. It says humans are an API to ChatGPT. ChatGPT is an API to Python. Python is an API to C. C is an API to assembly. Assembly is an API to binary. Binary is an API to physics. And physics is an API to the machine that runs the universe. It's computation all the way down. Fuck it. When I read that, I was like, man, that's unreal. So yeah,
I saw that on Twitter. But no, I think that's great. All right. Well, everyone. It's crazy how like we can make so many mistakes, but back in the day when people were recording the stuff on TV, they had to be to the point, right? That's the one thing I love about YouTube podcasting. Like a lot of the YouTube podcast channels I went, it's just like do what you want, man. And I absolutely love that. I think that's what we're just trying to create here, but most of all, add meaningful value for our listeners. So in saying that, thanks everyone.
100%.
Until next time, John, take care.